All right. Shalom, everybody. I'm your brother Jacob, and my partner right here,
Brother Joab.
Happy Sabbath, y'all. It's a gloomy day here, and the topic, what we're going over tonight, is not going to bring a smile to your face. But this stuff needs to come out. So you see the title, They That Hate Thee Shall Reign Over Thee. So we're going into some of the things that our enemy has done to us. Now, everybody knows about the atrocities that they did to us while we were in slavery. But what we're getting into tonight is after slavery was over, coming forward up to around the time that I was born. So we got some articles for you, and we got some video for you, and you're gonna see the curses all in this. But we're gonna sidetrack a little bit from how we usually start out. Because of what we're going into tonight, let's go to Deuteronomy 28. Give me verse. Start at verse 43.
Gotcha. Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. Happy Sabbath to the 12 scattered abroad. The book of Deuteronomy. You said what?
Chapter 28 and verse 43.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low.
Go ahead.
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him.
So, in tonight's class, you're going to see we come out of slavery, and we have no idea on what we should do. None. We're lost. We're groping, like it says, we're groping at noonday. Go ahead.
He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
It's going to be very evident. Keep going.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed. Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee.
So we did a class a while back, Why We So Hated. The reason we're so hated is he just stated it right there. Because we didn't hearken, meaning listen to and observe the voice of the Lord, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded us.
Right.
He only commanded them to us. That's why we're on the bottom, and as you're going to see, we're getting beat down, not just physically, but mentally too. When you think about yourself and you just say, I'm just a nigga.
I'm a real nigga.
No, not like that. Meaning, I'm just a lowly nigga. I am nothing.
Damn.
When you think about yourself like that. Go ahead, bro.
Damn.
46.
Verse 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
So the curse is going to jump on you, and they're going to stay on you. You can't escape them. But our people, we didn't really understand. It's talking. You're going to see, they go to church and everything, but they don't realize it's talking about them because they've been taught by their enemy. Go ahead.
Verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things.
So because you didn't, knowing you need all these things, and the Lord said he will bless you with all these things, but instead, like he had already prophesied, you're going to get fat, you're going to be living good, and then you're going to forget about me and my commandments. And then when you do that, I'm going to punish you. So we didn't serve him with joy and gladness of our hearts. But after all these punishments, we're going to do it now. We're putting the Spirit back on us to return and circumcise our hearts to be obedient and to keep his commandments and to love him. Go ahead.
Verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee.
So you're going to see us even after the captivity is over, the quote unquote captivity, the bondage, the hard bondage part, even though that's over, supposed to be over, because it's still not over.
Oh, it's not over.
Because of that, you're going to be doing this. You have to serve your enemies. Go ahead.
In hunger and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things.
You gonna hear them say this. That the Negro depends on the white man for everything. You gonna hear them say it. Go ahead.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
Right. So when this was all over, and then we're trying to find ourselves, we're destroyed. We're destroyed. Even I'll bring some stuff out.
Right.
But you're gonna notice in all of these videos, because they all are like from 1966 and before, you're not gonna see women in pants. Every woman you're gonna see, every little girl you see, is gonna have on a dress. And from that point, once our people start migrating and integrating with our enemies as a people, we came crashing down. Ever since Martin Luther King had his dream about holding hands with them,
Damn.
straight downhill. Straight downhill. So, we're going to get straight into this history. We're going to go into a couple of articles. All of this stuff. Before we start reading, I want that first one. But after slavery is over, and we're trying to figure out what to do, trying to make a life for ourselves and our families, we started moving. And I want you to think about this. So we start moving up north. You already had some folks of our people that was up north in like New York. This was during slavery. That was free up there, but they were still oppressed because white people just don't like us. I don't care what they say.
Right.
So you had people up north there. But then after the Industrial Revolution, or during the Industrial Revolution, once we come out of slavery and started looking for jobs, we were Buffalo Soldiers, we're doing all kinds of stuff. And our people started migrating, looking for jobs. Because there was nothing in the South. You was a damn sharecropper. You was working for pennies. You weren't making no money.
Right.
So they're trying to find places, trying to, make a life for themselves. And guess where they went? They went to Detroit, in the car industry.
The Motor City.
They went to Chicago. They went to California. They went to Inglewood.
Right.
What's that? What's the other? What's the place Ice Cube and all them supposed to come from? Compton.
Yep.
You see? Remember that show? They. That was based. That was when Compton was first built.
Right.
So everybody's moving, and guess what? Those are the worst damn places you can go now.
Yep.
Chicago, Detroit, L.A., everywhere our people move. You know why? The curses went with them.
Yeah.
All them places, projects. So let's get into it. It should say untold history of post-Civil War neo-slavery. Oh, no, when you pull a picture up, that ain't what it's titled. It should just be one. Okay. I'm going to read this one. You can give him the mic, though. So, this is an article called The Untold History of Post-Civil War Neo-Slavery. So when you see neo, that means new. It's just, that's all it means. Like what they call them, neoliberals. It just means new. Yeah, neo-Nazi, new Nazi. Instead of, the old Nazis. That's all it means. Yeah, new soul. That's all it means. So, I'm going to read this. In Slavery by Another Name, this is talking about a book. In Slavery by Another Name, Douglas Blackman of the Wall Street Journal argues that slavery did not end in the United States with the Emancipation Proclamation in 1862. He writes that it continued for another 80 years, in which he calls an age of neo-slavery. The slavery that survived long past emancipation was an offense permitted by the nation, Blackman writes, perpetrated across an enormous region over many years and involving thousands of extraordinary characters. Now, I want to bring up something real quick. You can pull up the next one. But I just found out recently, right around the time that I was born, where my people are from, like Israel Hill, Farmville, Virginia. There's a 5 or 6 year period where the kids did not graduate from school because schools, it was a federal law for the schools to integrate, and they refused to. Okay. And so what they did, they closed the schools down. And then when the government started getting on them, they built a public school, but all the white folks put their money together and made a private school and sent their kids there. Yeah, and then so the integrated school had, I think, 1 or 2 white kids, and the rest of them was black kids. And they show on the video that I saw, they showed the senior prom from both schools. It was all white and all black. Yep. It was supposed to be integrated. But that showed the lengths. These people really don't like. I don't care what they say. They don't like us. They will deal with us. They'll put up with us, and you'll see because they're gonna say it themselves later on. All right, you got the next one up?
I do.
Okay. Slavery by Another Name. All right, let's see. So the introduction. On March 30th. Now this is a story. Now pay close attention. Okay. This is something that happened that they were doing to our people. Like we were talking before class about the Devil's Punch Bowl. Yeah. That's something y'all ought to look up too. Yeah. And the Devil's Half Acre, which is right here in Richmond. Anyway, so it says, the bricks we stand on March 30th, 1908, Green Cottonham was arrested by the sheriff of Shelby County, Alabama, and charged with vagrancy. Cottonham had committed no true crime. Vagrancy, the offense of a person not being able to prove at a given moment that he or she is employed, was a new and flimsy concoction dredged up from legal obscurity at the end of the 19th century by the state legislatures of Alabama and other southern states. So, there's a scripture in Psalms that said they create mischief with a law. No, that's Ecclesiastes, I believe. I can't remember right now. But yeah, that's mischief with a law. They created laws to keep us down. I mean, I don't know how else you can look at it. You got, you know what I'm saying? You have even their own people telling you, no, these laws are put in place to keep them down. Yeah.
But they control the jobs also.
Yeah.
They control the hiring and the firing.
This is why you'll have, because I had some Jewish guy telling me the other day that I was a racist. Like, how can I be a racist? What I think and do has no impact on you.
Exactly.
None.
That's
None
why
whatsoever.
It's impossible for us to be racist.
Now, do I prefer my people over anybody else? Yes. And you should prefer your own people.
Exactly.
Yeah. But because we're reading out the Bible and the Bible says what it says, does not make me a racist.
Right.
I'm not trying to oppress anybody.
Right.
All right. Where was I?
Right in the middle, it was capricious.
Yeah, southern states. It was capriciously enforced by local sheriffs and constables, educated by mayors and notaries public. Man, look that word up. Capriciously. You see it?
Yeah.
Look that up, man. I need the definition of that. I'm gonna keep reading, but I need that definition. It was capriciously enforced by local sheriffs and constables, adjudicated by mayors and notaries public. Damn.
In a way that changes suddenly and unexpectedly.
So it means, read it. Read it for him.
Shalom, family. Most High in Christ bless. Happy Sabbath. Definition of capriciously. In a way that changes suddenly and unexpectedly. The rules were enforced capriciously. She was capriciously fired after only 2 days on the job.
So suddenly.
And unexpected.
So it was suddenly enforced. And you know what? So we know what this shows you, that they work hand in hand. They were all in on it together. So as the lawmakers, then you have those that's enforcing the law, and then adjudicators, which is when you go to court and then they're giving out the punishment. Right? So they're all working hand in hand. Like this time period right here, this is the 1900s. You have your white knights. You know, they ride around and they have them, their heads covered.
Talking about the dunce cap? Yeah.
Your caparote. So you have many people say, oh, because even when you look back then, the leaders of the Klan were the judges, the police officers,
Yep.
the lawyers.
Yep.
Ain't nothing changed. It's
Yep.
the same thing today.
Yep.
Same thing. You're gonna see. You'll see
They
it.
just stay in their suits now instead of doing it on the hood.
Right. So okay. Recorded haphazardly or not at all in court records. And most tellingly, in a time of massive unemployment among all Southern men. So the law was created when they didn't have jobs, and it's called vagrancy, meaning you ain't got a job, so you got to be locked up.
I mean, look what they doing. The same thing today. They still taking away the jobs, but they push the drugs in the neighborhoods, so they know you're gonna be attracted to. You got to provide for you and your family, so you're gonna sell the drugs. Now they can start the DARE program and all of that to push. To lock you up, to get you locked up.
Get you in that prison pipeline
It's
system.
all a plot and a plan, man, and they play it out so lovely.
The main thing they want you to do is just get in trouble once,
That's it.
so they can get you on paper.
Get you in the system, get your fingerprints, get your DNA. That's all they need.
Yep.
You in the system. And they target the brothers and sisters who don't have a record. They
Oh yeah,
target them.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's been proven.
Yeah.
Now, and most tellingly, in a time of massive unemployment among all Southern men, was reserved almost exclusively for black men. Cottenham's offense was blackness. Let's go to the next one. It's got the guy face on it. Yeah, that's the guy that wrote it. After 3 days behind bars, 22-year-old, oh my goodness. After 3 days behind bars, 22-year-old Cottenham was found guilty in a swift appearance before the county judge and immediately sentenced to a 30-day term of hard labor. Unable to pay the array of fees assessed on every prisoner, fees to the sheriff, the deputy, the court clerk, the witness. Cottenham's sentence was extended to nearly a year of hard labor. Look at that. That's why it's called slavery of another name, by another name. The next day, Cottenham, the youngest of 9 children, born to former slaves in an adjoining county, was sold under a standing arrangement between the county and a vast subsidiary of the industrial titan of the North, U.S. Steel Corporation. Now, when I read this, the first thing I think of is Andy Dufresne. What's the movie? Shawshank Redemption.
Okay.
And remember, the prison warden, he was sending them out on a work cruise, and he was getting paid.
Yep.
He was getting rich off of their labor.
Yep.
They little nickel they was making a day or whatever, he was getting rich off it.
Right.
Same thing. Same old stupid crap, man. Okay, let me pick up where I left off. The sheriff turned the young man over to the company for the duration of his sentence. See that? It's slavery.
Right.
It's your 13th Amendment right here.
In return, the subsidiary, Tennessee Coal, Iron and Railroad Company, gave the county a $12 a month to pay off Cottenham's fines and fees. What the company's managers did with Cottenham and thousands of other black men they purchased from sheriffs across Alabama was entirely up to them. So it sounds to me like the railroads got rich off of that labor.
That's what the Emancipation Proclamation did. All it did was change slave labor from a public to a private industry.
Right.
But no, Juneteenth,
Free labor.
Yeah. That's the mega jump that white folks have over us.
You know what? With that, that labor they got for basically for nothing. They ought to use that to clean up the damn oil spill in Ohio and give them people some money.
The thing is, just recently, I think within the last couple years or so, within the last couple of years, I remember my wife telling me she was looking up the companies that still profit off of prison labor, and one of your biggest grocery stores was guilty of that store being Publix, with an array of quite a few others. So they say they don't do it anymore, but they were guilty of it. So I mean, even today, many of these big profited stores that we're aware of get a lot of their things from prison labor and benefit off of prison labor.
Nothing surprises me anymore. Like, I was watching a video a few weeks back where at Oxford, they're deliberating on paying reparations to the descendants of the slaves that they own. Such a prestigious school, but they benefited off of slavery. All right.
Something about Yale and Harvard too, didn't you?
I mean, that was everybody was in on it.
Right.
You want to make some money? You want to make mass profit?
Right.
Free labor? I'm on the one that says a few hours later.
Even VCU talked about issuing reparations. They know.
Who?
VCU. Yeah. This is in the past month.
Wow. It was deep.
Not surprised. It's up there. Not surprised.
All right, a few hours later, The company plunged Cottenham into the darkness of a mine called Slope Number 12, one shaft in a vast subterranean labyrinth on the edge of Birmingham known as the Pratt Mines. There, he was chained inside a long wooden barrack at night and required to spend nearly every waking hour digging and loading coal. His required daily task was to remove 8 tons of coal from the mine. This is daily.
8 tons.
Cottenham, now this is, they're in jail. Cottenham was subject to the whip for failure to dig the requisite amount, at risk of physical torture for disobedience, and vulnerable to the sexual predations of other minors.
What?
Many of whom already had passed years or decades in their own, I don't know, how do you pronounce that word? Stonian confinement.
Look like choking.
There's no syllable right there, though. I mean, no vowel. Wow. Stonian confinement. The lightless catacombs of Black Rock, packed with hundreds of desperate men, slick with sweat and coated in pulverized coal, must have exceeded any vision of hell a boy born in the countryside of Alabama, even a child of slaves, could have ever imagined. Waves of disease ripped through the population. In the month before Cottenham arrived at the prison mine, pneumonia and tuberculosis sickened dozens. Within his first 4 weeks, 6 died. Before the year was over, almost 60 men forced into Slope 12 were dead of disease, accidents, or homicide. Yeah, these type of conditions will usually cause you to kill somebody.
Yeah. You'll be agitated very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Most of the broken bodies, along with hundreds of others before and after, were dumped into shallow graves scattered among the refuse of the mine. So think about this. A young man gets snatched up because he doesn't have a job,
Right.
forced to do this, and then he dies and is buried there. That means nobody knows where he's at. Never hear from him again.
Right.
The evil that men do, man. Others were incinerated in nearby ovens, used to blast millions of tons of coal brought to the surface into coke, the carbon-rich fuel essential to the U.S. And you think about this time period, too. This is what, 1908? So at this time, this is the daggone trains was running off of coal.
Right.
That's why, y'all, whenever you're reading the Bible and whenever you're looking at history, period, in your mind, put yourself in their shoes back then.
Right.
This will help you to understand what's going on.
Right.
So when people look at the Bible and they look at it just, it's a book. But these are these are real people, our ancestors that went through real life things. All right, what we got next? Is it say Yeah, that's it. Then you're gonna pick up how you read the K. So it says a year later. This is basically, I guess the guy summing it up because it was a long story, and I didn't want to spend up too much time going through all of it. So it says a year later, the journal published my long article chronicling the saga of that burial ground. No specific record of the interments survived, but mountains of archival evidence and the oral histories of old and dying African Americans nearby confirmed that most of the cemetery's inhabitants had been inmates of the labor camp that operated for 3 decades. Yes, 30 years. On the hilltop above the graveyard. Later, I would discover atop a nearby rise another burial field where Green Cottonham almost certainly was buried. The camp had supplied tens of thousands of men over 5 decades to a succession of prison mines, ultimately purchased by U.S. Steel in 1907. Hundreds of them had not survived. Nearly all were black men arrested and then leased by the state and county governments to U.S. Steel or the companies it had acquired. Here and in scores of other similarly crude graveyards, the final chapter of American slavery had been buried. It was a form of bondage, distinctly different from that of the antebellum South, in that for most men, and relatively few women drawn in, this slavery did not last a lifetime and did not automatically extend from one generation to the next. But it was nonetheless slavery, a system in which armies of free men, guilty of no crimes and entitled by law to freedom, were compelled to labor, yet again, without compensation, were repeatedly bought and sold, and were forced to do the bidding of white masters through the regular application of extraordinary physical coercion, being forced into hard labor.
Damn.
We got to hit a scripture right here, man. Jeremiah, Wisdom of Solomon 5. There is a God. All I want is verse 1. Nah, give me 1 and 2, man. There is a recompense. You know, because these people, everybody now is up in arms, calling us a cult and saying many evil things about us unjustly. And this is going to befall them. He's saying the same thing in Revelation. Go ahead. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5 and verse 1.
The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5 and verse 1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, and made no account of his labors.
Right, that afflicted him and made no account of his labors. You just, irregardless, they made us do all just, hard bondage, and then you see them in the movie saying it, we lazy.
Right. Right.
Man, I even saw where they had was trying to do tests on us to figure out why we wanted to escape.
Yeah. And they labeled it like it was
some kind of mental disease.
Mental disease in our mind. Exactly.
No, you have the mental disease.
Right.
That's crazy.
To think this is okay.
Right. And who were they? What were they? What were these people? Were they Arabs? Were they in Islam?
No.
Were they in Hinduism? No, they was damn Christians.
Yup.
Give me verse 2.
Verse 2. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they looked for.
Right, because they're looking like these are nothing but niggers. You know, we don't have a problem with the niggers, but they need to be on their side and we'll be on ours. And then you're going to find out there's a recompense for all the evil that you've done. All right, you can drop that. Now, let's go to the Ku Klux Klan. So, you have this is another dynamic of what's going on. Slavery ended in 1862 or 1863. And you're going to see, as a direct result of us being freed, comes the good old boys. Go ahead and read that, Jeremiah.
All right, this is off the National Geographic site, the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan is a domestic terrorist organization.
Hold on, Jeremiah. A domestic terrorist organization. And they always trying to throw us in with them, even though we do nothing everybody say. I remember Raphael said it. You ain't never seen an Israelite go and put a menorah in somebody's yard and burn it. We ain't forcing people not to eat pork. You know what I mean? We're not doing it. We don't do the things that they do. But they'll still put us in that category. You're just like the Ku Klux Klan. You ain't no different. No, there's a big difference. We're telling our people to repent and serve God. They're trying to kill you. They're terrorizing you every step of the way. Go ahead, Jamal.
The Ku Klux Klan is a domestic terrorist organization founded shortly after the United States Civil War ended. It has used intimidation, violence, and murder to maintain white supremacy in Southern government and social life.
To maintain white supremacy. Go ahead, keep going.
KKK gathering. The Ku Klux Klan was founded at the end of the United States Civil War to repress the rights and freedoms of African Americans. Even after 150 years, it is still an active domestic terrorist organization.
To this day. To this day. But you can go on the SPLC and see all kinds of Israelite groups, even though they ain't did nothing to nobody. Right. Even though we got brothers, Edomites run up on them on the streets and they beat them down. It's still not like the KKK. It's not a terrorist organization. Right. Somebody comes out because we've seen the videos. Personally, I would just try to keep them away from it. I don't want no altercation. I just want my people to do better. But if I can ever find my book, we'll get into it. Man, these people did all kinds of stuff. At some point, eventually we'll go over a lot of different aspects of it. Because they was one time, man, they said it was like several incidents every night in Alabama. They throwing Molotov cocktails in folks' houses.
They don't care about your children or nothing.
No. Set your house on fire and shoot you when you run out.
Right.
But we're a cult. We're a cult. Gotta be kidding me. Even after 150 years, man. Go to the next one, bro. So look at the dates. Look at the date. Slavery, the Emancipation Proclamation was 63, I believe. 1860, somewhere in there. Somewhere between 1862, 1863. Go ahead.
All right. Late in 1865, just after the United States Civil War ended, the Ku Klux Klan, KKK, was founded. The Klan, a secret organization that used terror tactics to target newly freed African Americans, attracted defeated Confederates who resented the changes of Reconstruction. Under the cloak of darkness and in disguise, the KKK worked to enforce white supremacy as the political and social order of the South.
Doesn't white supremacy exist to this day?
Yes. Oh man.
So that means that they haven't gone anywhere. Just like it said, even after 150 years, it's still around.
They had children.
Yep, and their children had children.
Right, Jesus.
Yeah, white Jesus. That's their symbol. Go ahead.
The end of the Civil War brought freedom to enslaved African Americans in the former Confederacy. The 14th and 15th Amendment to the Constitution, as well as federal laws introduced during the years of Reconstruction, 1866 to 1877, were intended to protect the civil rights of freed people. However, when they tried to exercise their new rights, they encountered intimidation and violence, much of it organized by the Klan.
Right, much of it organized by the Klan. So even though the Lord took the hard bondage off, right, with the Emancipation Proclamation, you still have to, let's go to Deuteronomy 28 again. This is what he did. It's like, oh, okay, you think because the chains came off and legally you're not slaves anymore, but watch what I'm going to do to you. Verse 65. It's like, okay, now the chains come off. Now this prophecy got to come to pass.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 65. And among these nations shall thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest.
No rest. No, you not. No, you out of it. The hard bondage is gone, but you ain't gonna have no ease. You ain't gonna have no rest because I'm punishing you. Go ahead.
But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind.
Right. So when the chains came off, we were still going through it, just in a different form. We were like, I got something else waiting for you. All right, you can drop that. No, read 66, man.
Yes.
It all go together.
Yes.
67 too.
Verse 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee.
Like the story about the brother we just read. What did he do wrong? He didn't have a job. What control did he have over that?
No
Nothing.
control.
Right. Go ahead.
And thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even. And at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning.
Right, so it don't matter. Night and day, you're still afflicted. You're just hoping for things to be better. Like, man, Lord, I hope we don't get caught tonight. And then when the daytime comes, something else. Well, I got to work. I got to get up and I got to work till sundown. Go ahead, finish.
For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see.
All right, let's go back to the article. You think this stuff is bad? Wait till we get to the videos. The end of the Civil War.
The end of the Civil War brought freedom to enslaved African Americans in the former Confederacy. The 14th and 15th Amendments to the Constitution, as well as federal laws introduced during the years of Reconstruction, 1866 to 1877, were intended to protect the civil rights of freed people. However, when they tried to exercise their new rights, they encountered intimidation and violence, much of it organized by the Klan. The votes of formerly enslaved men helped give the Republican Party control of the Mississippi state legislature, which made Hiram Rhodes Revels the first African American in the United States Senate. In 1870, South Carolina directly elected Joseph Rainey, another African American, to the U.S. House of Representatives. The Klan reacted with terrorizing night rides to the homes of black voters.
See that? You have our people. Every time voting comes around, see, our people died so that you could vote. Well, vote for this system, this wicked system.
It was all in vain.
Our people got beat down, got murdered, got hosed, had dogs jumped on them just for trying to vote, thrown in prison just for trying to vote. You can't. You're not supposed to be equal with them. You're not supposed to be with them at all. They're fighting to integrate.
Why do you want to be equal with somebody who treats you like that?
Right. To this day, our people they trying to be equal. Just let them be. All right, this is the last one, I believe. In 1871.
I got Birth of a Nation, 1, 2, 3, and Old and New Monument Act.
It don't say 1870. Well, I'll read it. councilman,
The judge is probably.
yep, the judge,
grandmaster.
the policeman.
Yep.
That's why their faces are covered.
Let us see your face.
All right, how we looking? It's 10 o'clock. Okay, we're doing good. So now we're gonna show y'all some old video. This first one is basically going into Birth of a Nation, but please pay close attention. Go ahead, cue the joint.
I think the thing that Reconstruction did was not as important as the fact that the slave was now free, and a place had to be found for him. And the sheer number, you see, of these untrained people, well, it was a tremendous problem.
A tremendous problem that has always haunted the South. Jobs for Negroes. Negroes who were often stronger, more capable for the work required. A laborless, landless, and homeless class, Lincoln called them, caught in a hazy realm between bondage and freedom. But in 1866, Union General Hatch said, "At issue in the South is not what shall be done with the Negro, but what shall be done with the whites." They were the victims of poverty and poor land, of malaria and hookworm, about whom the Negroes used to sing, "You can't make a living on sandy land. I'd rather be a nigger than a poor white man." And to these whites, there was horror at the specter of black supremacy, blacks winning control and competing for what had been exclusively theirs, lands, homes, and jobs. Birth of a Nation, a movie classic produced in 1915, dramatized what had now become the prevalent white attitude, the fear of incompetent, criminal, and savage Negroes who, with federal bayonets, ravaged an innocent South. And so, to save the South, the Ku Klux Klan organized in 1865. On horseback with guns, sword, and the cross, they terrorized Negroes and their sympathizers with violence, arson, and murder. Today, though their techniques have progressed to air-conditioned limousines, they are still active, still dedicated to their faith that Jesus Christ was not a Jew, that the Pope of Rome is Antichrist, and the Negro is a beast who must be suppressed.
To describe that bunch, I'd have to use a whole lot stronger than I'm permitted to use.
So, if you paid attention to what was being said, the things that we read lines up perfectly with what they're saying. And now they came about because we were given freedom. That's it. Because we were given freedom, they formed the KKK to keep that white supremacy going and keep us on the bottom, to make sure that we're nothing. You know, that goes all the way back to Genesis 27. That hatred for us. They don't want us to have nothing. But you see them, they in their cars, and they riding, and they got their flags and everything. These are the leaders of these people. This is why they wear the masks. But and pay attention to what this dude is saying. And we've said it before. I'm not sure if we said it on the air, but how white people, to us, they smell. We don't like their smell, and they don't like our smell. That goes back. There's a book going all the way back to England in the 1600s, man, when a black Jew had words with a white man, and they were saying that to each other. But play that. Pay close attention to what this dude is saying. Close attention, especially to what he is. Go ahead.
I think the thing that Reconstruction did was
You might be able to slide it. to where you were. Man, out of their own mouths, man, they say stuff.
To describe that bunch, I'd have to use a whole lot stronger than I'm permitted to use, being a minister of the gospel. Amen. They go into the auditorium of the gymnasium.
He wanted to use different words, but he couldn't because he's a minister of the gospel. That means he's a pastor. Go ahead.
For the after football game dance. Then comes along one of the nigger football players, and they all go piled in there together like that you are here tonight, just like a bunch of OICs and Berkshire hogs all trying to loosen a lot together. They go in there and they get to rubbing around, smelling that vanilla flavor. Could you conceive the idea of your fair-skinned daughter, her dancing partner be tagged on the shoulder by some burn-head, liver, lip, goat-smelling, eight-faced nigger? Can you conceive such a thing? Are you going to do something about it?
Reverend W.N. Redmond, as most Southern Negroes, has been an eyewitness to the vigilante.
Yeah, so you got that right from the horse's mouth. So if this dude is the Grand Master, he's leading, you see everybody co-sign with him because when he was saying it, they was cheering him on. This is how they feel. This is how they teach their children. You know, now they try to, you don't know what they be saying behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? You don't know. You don't know.
I can only imagine.
They act like they trying to do better, but now go ahead and play the next one. Yeah, segregation. Pay attention, y'all, because we're supposed to be a separate people. We're supposed to be to ourselves because the Lord pulled us and severed us from other people to be his people. Go ahead.
Former slaves required new definitions. Sheriff Boyce Bratton comments.
I feel that the Negro here in Lafayette County in Mississippi has freedom, all the freedom he wants. He's not tied by any laws, man-made laws, or
Pause it.
made by Congress or any.
You know damn well he's lying. No, what he's saying is he's saying that they don't have to abide by any law that's written because they're gonna hold them to a certain standard. If he get caught doing something that they don't want him to do, then they're gonna tie him to the back of a damn station wagon or something and drag him around town. That's how they do. Make an example out of it. Look at him. Look in his face. Go ahead, let the devil speak.
Any other lawmaking body. He has all the freedom that he wants. The Negro is not deprived of any freedom here in Mississippi.
Jim Crow, it was called. Beginning in 1870, signs went up all over the South separating the races and taking away the Negroes' newly won rights. Negroes and whites were separated on trains and buses. Negroes were barred from white hotels, restaurants, barbershops, and theaters.
I've also heard a number of times that the colored and the white were not equal under the law. That's true. The colored gets the break and the white man doesn't. For instance, two men, one white and one colored, breaks into a store here. In all probability, the colored man would get a very light sentence, and the white man.
See the lies? See the lies? This is why we call them the devil. If you understand what the devil means, it just means, deceiver. So they that's what they do. They deceive, continually deceive, constantly deceive you. We just read the story about some of the things that they was doing. Locking you up under the pretense of you not having a job. And he talking about a criminal offense. You commit a certain, just depends on what criminal offense you commit. If a black, because there's I didn't include this, but there was a father and a son. Some white man's dog did something and they killed the dog. They got lynched. They got tied to the back of a car and dragged around town and then tied up and set on fire. They lying. Right through their daggone teeth. Lying. Let the video play.
And would get a heavy sentence. That's not equality under the law. But it goes back to the thing that I said to start with, that the white man of the South feels like it's actually his job to look after his colored citizens, or the colored citizens, and they are not held accountable to the same stringent letter of the law that the white man is.
That made absolutely no sense.
At all.
I mean, does he actually think people are going to sit there and believe that? I don't think so. There's no way he could think that people are going to believe that, man.
They probably did. Because how you can create things in your mind to think things are okay. Like this is the way it's supposed to be.
Like they have their own reality.
Yes. Yes, it's an alternate reality. Yes, absolutely.
All right, go to segregation 2.
And in their churches too, white Southerners sang and prayed to a God that to them decreed segregation.
Well, certainly I believe in segregation. I have stated that I have believed in it. I believe in it now, and I always will believe in segregation. First, because God teaches it. I think it's God's plan that the races be segregated. We find a lot of scripture on
was in the spirit. How come he see it?
But they think that they're the people of God and we're just lowly niggas. But he's right. We should be segregated. We should be. Let's go to it. Go Leviticus 20. Leviticus 20, 24. Start at 24.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 20, and verse 24. But I have said unto you, ye shall inherit their land, and I will give it unto you to possess it, a land that floweth with milk and honey.
Back the mic up a little bit. Might be too loud. Yeah.
I am the Lord your God, which have separated you from other people.
Go ahead.
Verse 25. Ye shall therefore put difference between clean beast and unclean, and between unclean fowls and clean. And ye shall not make your souls abominable by beast, or by fowl, or by any manner of living thing that creepeth on the ground, which I have separated from you as unclean.
Using all that as metaphors for people.
Yeah, it's similar to for people. This is talking about Acts 10. Right. That's why it's in between these two verses. Now 26. Yeah, it's just showing you unclean people.
Verse 26. And ye shall be holy unto me, for I, the Lord, am holy, and have severed you from other people, and ye should be mine.
Right, we're his. He severed us from other people. So, I mean, we're gonna even back then, you'll see our people in the way that they're dressed and the way that they carry themselves. It was much better than what we do today. Much different. Much different from how we carry ourselves today. And you cannot, other than our people being in sin, you cannot find fault with them. Because we've always been a peaceful people.
Right.
Except to each other.
Right.
Always want to do something to each other. Let it play.
And in their churches, too, white Southerners sang.
Damn synagogue of Satan. Damn churches of Satan.
And for reasons that I've just mentioned, that I feel that their standards is not up to the white standard. I'm not going to force somebody to go to church with me. And that's what they're trying to do to the colored race. That's what the outsiders is trying to do. They're trying to come down here and force them to go to our church.
I build a house. I have a right to live in that house. You don't have a right to come in and move in with me. I build a church. It may be this the house of the Lord. But yet, I maintain if I build it, I have a right to say who will and who will not come in. Remember, it's come by invitation only.
By invitation only became the right of Negroes also, as they found ways to live as free men in the South.
Seek the salvation of our kindred and acquaintance. Walk circumspectly. If you're just, somebody know it. And if you're just in your dealings, it'll soon be that folks will take your word. But if you're unjust in your dealing, won't nobody believe nothing you say. See what I mean?
In 1895, Booker T. Washington declared, "In all things that are purely social, we can be as separate as the fingers, yet one as the hand, and all things essential to mutual progress." By the end of the century, segregation was complete. The New South rose out of the ashes of the old, and the good nigger was the one who once again knew his place.
All right, so I want y'all. Now, when you look at this time period, you know there's another movie that's kind of like coincide with this, The Color Purple.
Okay.
And you remember how segregated they were? Remember Miss Oprah?
Okay.
The role she played.
Right.
The lady wanted her to be the maid. That whole thing called gal. All that, the way that they was behaving. It's late 1800s, early 1900s. Same thing. Yeah. And then you have segregation, and that segregation is even to this day. When you look at the church, why do you have apologetic community and then you have urban apologetics? It don't work. You got some coons that you had coons that'll follow vocab Malone. But then you have, brothers that got their own little sect in the apologetic community. Look at Michael Holloway and them. All of them black.
Why,
urban apologetics.
Why do they call themselves apologetics? I never understood that.
It's a Greek word. It's like defending. They're defending the faith, which they defended a bunch of damn lies.
Right.
I don't give a damn what you call yourself. You defending a bunch of lies. Ain't no truth to that thing. All right, now look, y'all. Gird yourself for this next one. I'm not gonna say the name of it. Mm-hmm.
A number of them to remark to me that, they know Mr. Brown or Mr. Jones, Mr. Smith's going to take care of us. They know that. They know that they're not going hungry. And They're not going to need for clothes as long as they'll work and do halfway right. They know that they're going to be taken care of. So they have no worries.
White folks were so good to me till when I got sick and disabled to work, they just come in and bring me something to eat, clothes, done everything. Fed me, clothed me, and I had a house full of children, and they fed my children. Yes, sir, I've been working all of my life, and the white folks raised me. Mister, I tell you the truth, I don't know what in the world I'd do without white folks. Now, that's the truth. And misters, I'm just a white folks nigger. I'm a nigger and all of my children's a nigger. And all this community in here of Mississippi recognize, appreciate it, and work for the white folks.
The Negro is not a part of my family. As a result, I don't elect to have him sit and eat with me. As a result, I don't elect to have him belong to a club that I may belong to. I don't elect to...
For Judge Obar, as for most Southern whites, out of the past has come a philosophy he calls the Southern way of life. The Negro and his place is at the heart of it.
This is the way it has been. It's the history of the South. It's because we've been brought up like this. We have been taught like this. And we teach our children like this. And they'll teach their children like that.
That's a rough one right there. That's a rough one.
These the people today that's making laws, bro.
Yeah, but what worries me, I don't really care about them. Because we're just showing the underneath their skin,
Yeah.
you know, how they really are.
Yeah.
But what bothers me is our people that's like this sister right here. I'm just a white folks nigga.
Damn. And she said, and my children are niggas.
Yeah.
So the very hate that even the white folks pass down to their children, we passing down the foolishness that we learn from them down to our children.
Which goes back to the Willie Lynch letter. So there was no husband.
Exactly.
There was no husband. It's her. So I'm sure she has seen men get the hell beat out of them.
Mm-hmm.
So how is she going to raise the little boys?
To be scared.
Yes. And not stand up
Right.
for anything.
Or raise the young lady to be independent.
And to depend on the white
The
man.
white man. Right.
Like she's dependent on the white man.
Mm-hmm.
We go back to Deuteronomy.
Clothes me?
Yeah.
Damn.
Deuteronomy 28 and 48. It's the whole thing is being destroyed in your mind.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 48. Therefore shall thy serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall set against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things.
Stop. So she done worked and worked and worked and worked and got to the point where she can't work no more. Mm-hmm. And now she thinks so highly of the white folks because they're giving her water, food, and clothing. He fed me, he clothed me. Mm-hmm. Going right back to the curses. And then she believing in him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And she's destroyed in her mind. Just like this verse is saying. You got to serve them for all these things. You done worked all your life. Now you old in age. Mm-hmm. And you think it's a great thing that they taking care of you. Right. Well, you done took care of them.
Right. And
your whole damn life.
And you're raising the next generation of
to do the same thing.
Do the same thing. Exactly. That's why they feeding you and clothing you. To make sure you take care of them babies and prep them for them.
Go ahead, Jeremiah.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
And with her, that yoke of iron is in her mind.
Right.
It's in her spirit.
She's straight destroyed. Yeah,
she's destroyed. Now,
white folks, nigga.
Yep, I'm just a white folks. That's so sad. So sad. Let's go to the next one. After Selma.
Lo and behold, boy,
Oh yeah, you're right. Yes, pay attention to this right. Pay attention to this right here, because you know how people, we look at them and we be like, damn, they age fast. But watch what this lady say. And the part I like about it is they did not have political pressure on them to say the right thing back then. They just letting it all out, like your grandmaster, the Ku Klux Klan. They just letting it all out, right?
They were comfortable. This was their time to shine at this point. Boy.
Just like these books, because damn near all these books are from the 1800s on back, where they didn't worry about saying nothing.
Right.
Go ahead, let that joint go.
Just plain born in us, instilled in us. They're, in spite of the fact that you have great respect for some Negro individuals, respect them as people, and not just as a servant. There is some physical revulsion, I think. The skin is dark. And I guess it's just something that we are so familiar with, it's just impossible, really, to overcome it.
For 11 million Negroes in the South, there is also...
She said it's impossible to overcome it. She said it was repulsive. Our dark skin is repulsive. Play it again. Just show it.
Just plain born in us, instilled in us. They're, in spite of the fact that you have great respect for some Negro individuals, respect them as people, and not just as a servant. There is some physical revulsion, I think. The skin is dark. And I guess it's just something that we are so familiar with, it's just impossible, really, to overcome it.
For 11 million Negroes in the South, there is also...
Impossible to overcome it. It's something that's in their spirit. You know, they accuse us all the time. Oh, see, you go by the color of skin. Yo, really? It's instilled in them.
Man, the paper bag test, they the ones that go by skin.
Just like you heard.
Right. You was darker than that paper bag, they ain't want no part. They ain't want to be.
No, but they say if you got a drop of Negra blood in you, use Negra.
What's her name? Markle? The one that's married.
Oh, yeah.
Man, they say she said she had a hard time with the queen.
And she'll eat a mite.
Right.
Ezekiel 35. We're just going to read one verse. If you want to know the judgment, keep going. But we're just going to read one verse. Give me verse 2 first.
Book of Ezekiel, chapter 35, and verse 2. Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it.
So it's not talking about the mountain itself. Right. It's talking about the people that inhabit it. It's talking about Edom, also known as Idomia. Verse 5.
Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword, in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end.
Right, their iniquity had an end. Christ already came, gave us a way of repentance, but nope. You don't want us to have no peace. Now go to after Selma.
All right, here we go.
Prosperity and growth are still for whites only, especially in the countryside, where the majority of Negroes still live, untouched by the gains made by others in the last 12 years. Wealth comes from the ownership of land, and the Negro has rarely owned it.
I just want to say this real quick. This is why last spring we started going in the country, because I've been thinking about that very same thing. You have a lot of people that have migrated to the city to try to get, good jobs and education and stuff. But we still got brothers, we still got family out there in the country. We got to go and get to them. We can't just go to the major cities.
Right.
We got to go to where our people are. It's one thing for them to see a video, but to be able to go to them and for them to have their questions answered, that's something completely different.
And we know in those rural towns, too, you pay attention to the way it's built. A lot of their homes are right beside churches. Their backyards are churches. Man, Christianity running rampant in the rural areas.
Another thing I noticed in them rural areas, all those interracial relationships up in there.
Yes. Yes.
And then remember the brother we talked to, he got killed behind one.
The sister we talked to, we found out the guy she was talking about that was cheating on her all the time was Esau. Man, that hurt, bro. That hurt. That hurt. What?
Oh, well. All right. Back to the video. Restart that, Jane.
Prosperity and growth are still for whites only, especially in the countryside, where the majority of Negroes still live, untouched by the gains made by others in the last 12 years. Wealth comes from the ownership of land, and the Negro has rarely owned it. He's only worked it for the white man, as a sharecropper or tenant. Unable to make a living off it, 3 million Negroes have left the South since 1940. But more than 5 million still remain tied to the land and a system which has kept them poor and in debt. The Negro still depends on the white man for everything. He lives in a shack given him by the white man and must borrow for food, fertilizer, and seed. He is prey to traveling salesmen who sell him goods he does not need and cannot afford. And at the end of the year, after he's paid his debt to the white man, the Negro is left with very little.
Go back to Deuteronomy 28 again. Find Haggai for me. So read this real quick. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 44.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 44. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
So after slavery, during slavery he was the head, and then even after slavery, he's the head. You're looking like what you just saw. It's a perpetual cycle. He's loaning them money to make it through the year, to do that, to work on the farm, just so they can get to the end of the year and then borrow again. And it's just an endless cycle. He lending to you, you're not lending to him. You stuck in that same cycle over and over and over. He's the head and you the tail. There ain't no way for you to come up out of it. It's so damn hard. No. Oh, you found it? What page is it? Oh no, I just need to. Yeah, I know the verse. I just can't find it.
1092.
That's a trip.
Chapter 1, verse 6.
Is that what it is?
Bag of hope.
Yeah, go ahead, read it. Yeah.
The book of
Oh,
Haggai.
no. Read verse 5.
Chapter 5. But
Because it's all a result of what we've done. Our disobedience. 5 through 7.
all right, the book of Haggai, chapter 1 and verse 5. Now therefore thus saith the Lord of hosts, consider your ways.
Right. Consider your ways. Think about what you're doing. Go ahead. Damn, me. I have to look at myself. Go ahead.
Verse 6. Ye have sown much.
You sown much. You working. Go ahead.
And bring in little.
And you bring in little for your labors.
Right.
Go ahead.
Ye eat, but ye not have enough.
Right. You eat. You do eat something, but you don't have enough. Go ahead.
Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes.
You know what? This sounds just like Deuteronomy 28 and 48 and 43 about you you borrowing, and then you got to serve them for drink, for clothes, and food. Same thing. But you stuck in a perpetual cycle because the Lord is punishing you. He's punishing us for our disobedience.
If you think about it too, right? We already only make enough just to get by.
Right.
You may find some way somehow to save a little. But next thing you know, something happens.
Yep.
And that savings that you had
Gone.
is gone. That's why it says your bag has holes in it. There's holes in the system, but those holes were specifically made for us.
You have a fixed income.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Let's say everything running smooth. The moment something happens, you are in peril.
Yep.
Your car breaks down. $500-$600. How in the hell how you gonna take care of it?
Exactly.
And that will throw everything off.
Exactly.
You can't get to work. You can't make money.
Exactly.
Everything. You done.
Exactly.
This is a terrible place we live in, man.
Right.
Terrible.
Man, and you have our opposites. Man, a car it could be a brand new car, they could blow the engine. They don't even worry about it. Oh, I'll just go buy another one. Or I'll be looking at programs. They'll be like, oh, you can get this. It only costs $6,000-$7,000. It's nothing. I'll be like, man, what? That'll hurt me. Oh my gosh, the privilege.
I remember one time I was in training in the restaurant. And during this training to become like manager, they send you to corporate. You have like a whole little corporate week or whatever. So I'm sitting there with the HR dude and we going over some things. And his wife calls. And the only reason she called was to ask which car should she take for the day, whether it be the convertible or the other car. Wow. No telling what the other car was. Mm-hmm. But that was the only reason she called him.
She said
to ask the opinion of which car she should take. It's like, oh, must be nice.
Must be nice. Wow.
Man, read verse 7. We're almost done, y'all.
Book of Haggai, chapter 1 and verse 7.
Now read 6 again, man. Read it again.
Verse 6. Ye have sown much and bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes. Verse 7. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, consider your ways.
Right. Consider your ways. Realize you have made the Lord angry. And all we can do now is ride it out. Be obedient and ride it out.
But you know what, though? That's why you got to read the book. People got to read the book of Daniel. Because then you'll know. That's why the Lord said, consider your ways. Because even in a system like this, you can navigate. You can learn how to navigate through it by keeping God's laws, and the Lord will look out for you at the same time.
So like Joseph,
Right.
Zerubbabel, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Mordecai, Abraham,
Yep.
Joseph, all those brothers, Daniel, because their ways pleased the Most High.
Right.
So he made their enemies be at peace with them. That's what we got to do.
Exactly.
Like it said in Jeremiah, seek the peace of the city.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, seek the peace of the Most High.
Right. First,
right.
Last one. So all these verses was a setup for this last one. And you know what? I know, Joab, because you saw the video, I appreciate the spirit that's on this sister right here. Even though they still damn near in captivity itself, but they caught in that perpetual cycle. But I love the spirit that she has on her. Go ahead, play that joint.
They must borrow to live, and live in constant debt. They owe for food, fertilizer, and seed, and have $200 in doctor bills they are struggling to pay. They grow some food for themselves, but hunger is a constant in their lives. Too many mouths and too little money. Mrs. Johnson does the best she can and tries to take it all philosophically.
Things is tough. If you don't have enough food for them to eat, well, you know, they have to go hungry. And we won't have nothing much to feed them off of. Most of the Negro farmers right here, they all have the same trouble. You have to have faith, you know, in the Bible, you know, for things to be better. Read the Bible, and then by reading the Bible, you got to mean what you say when you read the Bible, and then if you ask him and read the Bible and mean what you say, well, he ain't just gonna come down for the, you know, and bring it down here to you. But still, you got to have faith. You know, of course, he ain't coming down and just bring it to you just like a natural man. But if you mean what you say, probably it might be a way over for you.
Walter Johnson is the only one of 6 sons to remain on the farm. The rest have gone north. He farms 9 acres of cotton and corn with his father, Champion Johnson, who spent a lifetime, 71 years behind the plow. Champion doesn't have much to show for it. Small mule farmers never do.
I ain't never been able to run no great big farm, nothing but, you know, mule farm like that. That's like I'm running now, and it don't, one farm, little farm like that, they don't never make nothing. And if you go on a farm, you're supposed to get up and go to the field every morning. And in that, you have to borrow some money to run this farm with. It is buy food, clothes, fertilizer, one thing enough. Whatever it takes, sometimes you have to buy old mule, anything you have to buy, say like you have to borrow. But you don't get money enough to buy what you need. And after that cause you got waiting out there, you make some, and you didn't make none. And you got to start bad news next year. That's the way that runs. You can see the situation, and you tell about what a fellow ought to have when you see the situation. Yeah. The situation show about what he got.
Man, this, looking back, a couple years ago, we were talking to a brother in Virginia Beach, and I asked him, I said, don't you care what your people went through, your forefathers went through? And he said, no, I'm good. I said, bro, go on up the street. Go on up the street, bro. You don't care about your ancestors, what they went through? I mean, suppose they decided they couldn't take it no more, and they gave up the ghost. They killed themselves. They commit suicide by doing something to a white man. Suppose they did that, and he wouldn't even be here. But you can't separate your damn self from your people. I'm good. No, you're not. This place going up in flames.
Man,
Flames.
Because they never went through the atrocities or experienced the actual, being in chains and, limbs snapped from in between two horses. They act like they not in touch with it. They'll tell you, I ain't never been a slave. They'll tell you that.
Just like on the other side of that, you got folks that say, well, we ain't never owned slaves, but you basking in the glory.
Everybody reaping the benefits
right.
of what the forefathers did. Exactly.
Right. This whole kingdom, the whole West, the kingdom of the West, which is the United States and Europe, the Western countries of Europe, comes, that wealth comes from the land over here and Africa, and that slavery and colonization of Africa and the West, North, Central, South America, and the damn slaves, the people you enslaved, because they did some Latinos the same damn way. Made them buying copper, silver, and gold in mountains like they had the brother doing the coal. The life expectancy of them people was 40 years old. They worked them so damn hard. And the church, like they had them hooked on cocaine, and the church got tithes off of that money. Give me Monument Avenue. So we have Monument Avenue. Now, I don't know where you're at and watching this, but we're in Richmond. And right downtown in Richmond is Monument Avenue. And are there any statues left?
I don't think so.
I want to say there's one, but I honestly don't.
The only one I remember.
I think they took them all down.
I know Arthur Ashe statue is up there.
Yeah, but this is mainly Confederate.
Yeah,
the
I don't
Confederate
think
stuff.
there are any more Confederate statues left. I think all of them are gone now.
Yeah, just like I know they renamed all the high schools and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this joint says Monument Avenue. Monument Avenue venerated the lost cause and white supremacy in the heart of Richmond, Virginia, the former Confederate capital. The first monument unveiled in 1890 commemorated General Robert E. Lee, the South's most beloved hero. Cracker number one. Later memorials pay tribute to Confederate President Jefferson Davis and Generals J.E.B. Stuart and Stonewall Jackson. And I think all of those are gone now. The statues of Monument Avenue honor the virtue and sacrifice of whites, not blacks.
Sacrifice?
Yeah.
What the hell they sacrifice?
I guess in the war. I guess in the war that they lost against the North. Yeah. The statues of Monument Avenue honored the virtue and sacrifice of whites, not blacks. They were part of a wave of Confederate monument building throughout the public spaces of the South. And if you're on the boulevard, there's a Confederate museum. And that was put there because of the Daughters of the Confederacy. You can look them up. That's a whole nother story. Hey, their women got their back 100%. I'll put it that way. Now give me the last one. So, but on that one, when you look to the right, you'll see that tall. There's a statue right there. That's where there's a video on my Facebook page years ago. I was riding past there one day, and it was the one white guy out there had a little sign that said Black Lives Matter. And I circled around and came back up to him and videoed him. That's where all them people standing at right there. Look at all those folks. Proud of their heritage. Now, this is the one, this last one, the one they was having trouble bringing down. They kept saying that they wasn't going to be able to do it. It's been a couple of years. That was right before COVID hit, man. Look at that. Now that's gone. They hiding the history, but guess what? We won't forget.
That's exactly that, man.
We will not forget. We're going to.
Yo, that was so masterfully done when you look back on it. They did something to call themselves appeasing us. Oh, okay. Yeah. We'll take this statue down. Right along with hiding the history. But it's gonna be a
CRT.
It's gonna be a trade-off. You cannot teach it in the schools anymore. And they put another stamp on it. Critical race theory.
We don't want our people to feel ashamed.
We don't want them feeling uncomfortable. Why? For a fact that you did? A truth that you did?
Obadiah.
And then when we teach it, you call it hate speech?
Yeah, hate speech. No, it's truth.
No, we're showing the hatred of what you did to us. And what you are currently doing to us.
That perpetual hatred.
Right. What page you got, bro?
Obadiah 1070. I want verse. Oh my goodness. Start at verse 10. We're going to read a few verses, and then we're going to close this thing out. And we're going to revisit this. We're going to revisit a similar timeline soon. Just let me get my stuff together. But we have to do this stuff. This stuff, you have to remember what these people have done to you. You know, right now the focus ain't on us. They going at it with each other about LGBTQ and what they call it when they dress up and have story hour, drag queen story hour and stuff like. Yeah, they fighting each other over all this stuff, man.
Yeah,
and teaching the kids, you know, all this craziness.
Letting them choose their own genders and everything.
Yeah, like Ezra, and the infamous words of Ezra say, "You will not let your 5-year-old. You won't give him the keys to the car and send them to the store and get groceries, but they can decide whether they want to be a girl or a boy."
Right.
The most important, it ain't even a damn decision.
Right. Right. They even let our children go to war at 17 years old, but they can't get a drink.
Right. Some states passed a law defining that a woman is someone that's born with a womb. Meaning they defined it, because you know they keep trying to say anybody can be a damn woman.
Right.
So they're like, so whatever the state was, it was more than one, but they said, we're gonna define it for you, and they passed that joint.
Wow.
When you're born as a female, that's what a female is. When you're born as one, you're born with female genitalia. That's crazy that you got to do that. Think about that.
Told you. They create everything in their head, man. And they roll with it. They believe it.
Damn Greeks and Romans, boy.
Good God.
I know, right?
Right.
Verse 10.
The book of Obadiah, verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee.
Shame shall cover thee. What's done is done. You can't go back and change it now.
Right. That's why y'all don't want us to go back into history.
Shame.
Yup.
Shame. Remember that video a few years back? You know, it's that black dude and he be like debating with people. His name Cordell.
The dude that be in the nice suits?
Yeah.
I know, bruh. Yeah, he kind of buff. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So him and that white lady going back and forth about some law they passed in Arizona. And she was talking about, you know, about the law and how it's made and what it's made for. And he was like, well, the natives should have had that law when your people came over here. We wouldn't even have this problem. Man, he lit into her. She was like, Cordell, it's not fair. The truth isn't fair.
Right.
But the truth is the truth. You crush your lies. Damn. Go ahead. Read it from the top.
The book of Obadiah, verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast as one of them.
Right. Every time something's happened to us, we get kicked out the land, they always there. They always burn down the temple. They take the land. Now they us.
That'd be the evil at our doorstep. Verse 12. But thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress.
See all the stuff they doing?
Yeah.
Speaking proudly, rejoicing that we getting our behinds tore up and killed and sent into captivity and everything. They rejoicing. Go ahead.
Verse 13. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity.
Every time something happens, they steal stuff. Yeah, man, you can't get, the Lord is always, through the prophets, giving you all their characteristics. You read the same thing in Jeremiah and here in Obadiah. Grape gatherers came to thee. You know, wouldn't they leave some grapes?
Right.
Not Esau. He gonna take them and he gonna sell them to you. Go ahead.
Verse 14. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape.
See?
Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head.
So that's why the shame covers them. They know, they feel it in their spirit.
Yes, they do.
That's why they always making a damn movie with somebody coming from another world and killing and destroying them. They got, you know what I'm saying, every movie they be destroying the whole earth. But why is it always they the main ones is, you know, somebody coming from space to take out?
Right.
Why is it always them? It's
Right.
in their spirit. They know it. That's shame. They know it. They know it. That's why they're so scared. They don't want us to come into any type of power. They know in their spirit that it's coming. They know that it's coming.
We know in their spirit they fear us too.
Right.
In their spirit, the way that they do us when they kill us, it's always an overkill. Like they need to make sure that you're dead. You ever notice that? It's always an overkill. In their spirit, they know that change is gonna happen. Exactly. They know in their spirit that change is gonna happen. They just don't know when. That's why they forever watching for.
Remember what our brother Mill said? He said, if you
Oh yeah,
he
yeah.
said you get to fighting with one, choke them out.
He said you gotta choke
He said
them
you
out.
gotta choke them out till they pass out, man.
Yup.
He said they not gonna stop. They're
Yup.
not gonna stop.
Yep.
You have not seen anger till you seen angry either,
Right,
man. I'm
right.
telling you. All right, man. You can drop overtime. Let's go to Leviticus 26. Last verse, and we closing out. Yep. Leviticus 26 and verse 17.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 26 and verse 17. And I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies.
Right. So the Lord, remember the Lord said, he not going to be slack. If you hate him, he going to repay you to your face. To your face. Go ahead.
They that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when none pursueth you.
So it's obvious who it is that hates us. It's obvious. We were given into the hands of our enemies, and them that hate us have reigned over us. It's coming to an end, though. Lord's will. We repent. We must repent, because the Lord is going to turn again the captivity of Judah and Israel. That's both nations, both kingdoms, and we're going to return and have one king, and that king is Christ. Last scripture, 1 Corinthians 13:12.
Oh, lost my way. Oh, here we go. The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 13 and verse 12. For now we see through a glass darkly.
Right.
But then face to face.
So now we see darkly. We see certain things in the scriptures. There's a lot of stuff hidden right in front of our face. We see some of it. We see it darkly.
Right.
But when Christ comes, he going to teach us face to face, man. Go ahead.
Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known.
Right, come on.
And now abideth faith, hope, charity, these three. But the greatest of these is charity.
The greatest of these is charity. Loving your brother as you love yourself. Doing what you can for your brothers and sisters. That's also called alms. And remember, like some people say, in the Apocrypha, it says that alms, you can pay for sins with alms. No, that's charity. That's brotherly love, which covers a multitude of sins.
Right.
So, that's it. Throw up the cash out. That's been tonight's class. They that hate thee, it's obvious who it is that hate thee, shall reign over thee. We've been in their hands for hundreds of years, y'all, and they've been mistreating us. And if you want better treatment, then you better repent. You better repent and seek the face of the Lord, the God of Israel. Make him happy, and then eventually we'll get the kingdom. You can come back to us now. So Lord's will, we get the kingdom. Right now we have the chance. Remember, Ecclesiastes said a live dog is better than a dead lion. Because the dead know nothing at all. You can't repent. You cannot do deeds to please the Most High in your sleep. That's sleep.
Right.
So, that's been a nice class. I'm your brother Jacob.
And I'm your brother Joab.
And Jeremiah, he read for us tonight, and that's our brother that's on, be on the wheels of steel that runs OBS. And tonight, I must say, he hasn't dozed off once. All right, so that's going to do it, y'all. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to cover Purim because we got Purim coming up.
Yeah.
With that, y'all, I wish you happy Sabbath. And shalom.
Book of Matthew, chapter 18 and verse 21. Then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times.
It ain't nowhere that I can't go. You see me, you see him, I'm like children in the flame though. It's because I follow him though. He the light to my feet, it's like flames what I follow. But let me stop for you heathos. I've been crossed many times, so yes I know the pain, yo. And forgive is where I ain't go. Told the brother get in line, giving shots like a needle. I've been sinning for real, murder, but I ain't killed for real. Shot for shot to seal the deal. Now I'm here to swallow the pill. Now I'm woozy, don't know how to act. Devil is mine, I'm fully attacked. My spirit to flesh had taken it back, and I ain't thinking about bringing it back. Tap, tap, I think I hear it right. The Lord come like a thief at night, but I ain't believe the hype. Yeah, like Saul when I seen the night, but had me feeling like Paul when I found the light. Cap, 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 cap. You say you love your people, but that's cap, cap, cap. You swear you don't be lying, but that's cap, cap, cap. You say you did atonement, but that's cap, cap, cap. I say cap, 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 cap. You say you love your nation, but that's cap, cap, cap. You swear you done with envy, but that's cap, cap, cap. You say you did atonement, but that's cap, cap, cap. I say.
So Peter said, if a brother sin against him, he offended. He does something unlawful. Could have took your money, could have tail barreled against any of those types. How many times should I forgive? 7 times? Because 7 was a complete number. What did the matter?
Jesus said unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7.